It is. I was just thinking about, the evil forces that run the world, how it is they maintain their monopoly on the human race. And so there's this, not that I have some plan, just that just these things, go through my mind sometimes. And of course, probably a lot of people are just like, I wonder, what can you do, right? Anyway, so it's it's it, I was thinking it comes down to power, like the electric companies, basically. And then when I thought of the electric company, I thought of El and the Elohim, or the worshippers of El, the cult type of thing of El. And that was just weird. I'm like, wait a minute. Does it just mean that the word electricity, was derived from the El as in the Elohim? I'm gonna have to probably break down that word and see what each part of it is in electricity. Anyway, though, just the connection between the two, like they've monopolized things that are electric. I mean, nowadays, what two things can't go down today, or they're screwed. That's the power itself, the electric power for lights and heat and all that. That's one of the tools of the system, probably the biggest one nowadays. And then secondly, the internet, because that's how they keep the lock on everybody's perception of what the world is and how it is, and what's going on, and politics and nations and things, and health and diseases, and I mean, you name it. Anything that you can have news about is part of that. And the internet is the surest way to, now that everybody has to have these things, these phones and these computers in order to function in our society, those have to stay running. So I don't think we should worry too much if there's an internet, cyber attack, and the internet goes down for a time, or rolling power outages, and then the power's going out because there's not enough electricity, or something, or even some event happens that supposedly you know causes a power failure. It's contrived. It's fake. I'm not saying that everything is fake, like a lot of people are. A lot of things are fake, though. That's the whole point of doing the fake things, is so that if something real happens, nobody will really know for sure whether they would believe it or not. But the perpetrators slip up a little in some way, but then they probably put out their own fake information about them slipping up about their initial operation, right? Or they they'll put out a whole bunch of alternative versions of things, and so that themselves pretending to be various parties with different takes on whatever the event may be. Anyway, that's part of the mind control. And people believe their news. They believe their vote means jack squat. They believe that it determines who becomes the president, and the senators and the representatives that can do nothing and do nothing for the most part. Senators could do something, but they don't, because they're all bought and paid. Even Rand Paul. Well, you should have seen Ron Paul when I was at his rally, when I was a delegate for him back in the day. And I showed up with my 9/11 Truth shirt on. I was the only one wearing one. And he looked at me one time. He looks at me, and he kind of half smiled in a wincing way. I was like, oh, great. Yeah, I was a Ron Paul delegate. Not that I really wanted to be particularly, but it seemed like a possibility at the time. Yeah, which I knew it wasn't then either, but I was like, well, let's just see what happens. I had to observe it. I had to, get in there and just look at the people and what their mood was and what their thoughts were. And yeah, there wasn't no nigh on 11 truth going on there. And yeah, Rand Paul's in there too. He's just the most liberal appearing senator. He's not, though. I don't mean liberal in like the stupid freaking, Republican Democrat way. I just mean liberal in the true sense of the word, or like, liberated from doing from following the rest of the pack or whatever, the rest of the crowd. Anyway, L. L must run the whole, and then the word hell. This has got H-E, heel, hell, heel. So the electric company, and what if the power is maintained by the electricity supply, basically, and the internet information and entertainment wise, and connecting with other people, then that mechanisms in place all the time for whatever propaganda would like to be broadcast, and people have become so fluoridated, accentuated, or evacuated. They've become so evacuated in the brain department, and fluoridated and illuminated, not illuminated and lit up, as in illuminated. Let me replace that. They've been illuminated, illuminated. That no, because that's a word, and that means they've been enlightened or something. But they've been delightened actually with aluminum, because aluminum and fluoride bond together into a hybrid, molecularly bonds very nicely and easily, and creates a even more toxic substance. Isn't that nice? Yay, chemistry's fun, huh? Let's try some on our entire population all at the same time. Ugh. All at the same time with no mechanisms in place to see what happens. Oh, what could possibly go wrong? The electric company. And then on top of that really, so these cult member whatevers that are running the governments and the corporations are followers of a group that worships L, or they worship L, whatever L is, whatever the L that is, and L is presumably electricity, the electric current. Trick meaning referring to, I guess, electric, or elected. That ties in there too. Electric, elected. I have to think about that one some more. But electricity is fundamentally everything, like the electric universe, because we're made of electricity in a very smallest sense, according to theory about atoms. At a certain point of scale, things just aren't physical anymore like we think them to be physical. They become, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. I saw it in a textbook, so it's true. Everything becomes energy, electrical, I guess. And there's electricity and magnetism. You can't have one without the other. So there's a big magnetic soup and electrical currents in it, I guess, and we're part of that physically. But then at a larger scale, where we have nerves, we're electrical. We run on electricity. Our bodies, our nervous system is electric. Our brain synapses and whatnot are electric, and neurons and whatever that crap is. We're electric. Electricity moves in waves, and waves have common factors so there's ways to interact with waves that we know all about, like computers do just that. What if the computer's way of processing information and giving us our input and output devices for the computers, the wave forms that they use, the frequencies they use, the way they operate, actually is the same as the brain waves? Your brains, or a brain, is an organic wave computation machine, I guess you'd say, and a computer is our silicone-based one. But what if the process of what it's doing is exactly the same? Then, with an interface into people that was powerful enough, say like they were highly metallized and could somehow be wirelessly connected to a computer, the computer could input its signal into the person physically, like electrophysically. There, I invented a new word, electrophysically. Electrophysicality just seems like a no-brainer almost if you get it down into simple enough terms. I don't know, maybe a lot of people wouldn't think of this. I'm not trying to say I'm a super genius for thinking of it. What I mean is, though, I've just thought slowly enough about it over years now, and piecing together each little thing that would have to be possible for that to be a thing. Like, because there's always been talk of the evil groups wanting to control the whole world and rule rule everybody's minds and all that stuff. I mean, if you've never heard that, there's old stories about this cult member type groups that want to take over the world. Like the hooded robes in the night with torches kind of thing, right? Which I don't care to comment on, but I'm just going from a scientific kind of logical standpoint of piecing together information, and that seems totally possible if a computer's frequency is just, it does it fast and mechanically, or in a sense, in a mechanical fashion, like fast and exact, and where we're organic and we have a lot more going on than just what a computer does. However, there are minds, I guess, somewhere programming the computers and giving them, tasks. And in the same way you can set a machine to do a job, like say, in a factory, and you keep the parts fed to it and it just builds things, right? Whatever it's made to build, its little part or whatever. The computer program will control all that. Well, couldn't you write the same kind of program if it were interfaced through some sort of antenna system, since waveforms all behave the same, and write a computer program that initiated a frequency that would affect the person who was receiving it? We've discovered through like microwave research, I'm not going to quote any sources, but I've seen them. I've processed the information. I think the guy was like a Russian, said to be. I don't believe anything necessarily, but this guy said to be a Russian KGB guy. And from the 60s, late 50s through the 60s, doing microwave testing of different kinds, and discovered that they could manipulate emotions with low power levels of microwaves. At certain frequencies, people will spontaneously just burst into tears, or they'll become really scared, or they'll get super excited, or they'll get horny or something. I mean, probably any of those things with microwaves. And they came up with this a long time ago. It's just subtly affecting a group of people with microwaves can have profound implications on their behavior. I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that. That doesn't even seem conspiratorial to me. But so if this is known, and we live in this frequency soup right now, that's maintaining the stranglehold on humanity through the electrical system, and it happens to be an electrical in the way that it functions. I don't know. It just all ties together. The elites, the elected, the Elohim, and the electricity. What do we do? What do we do?